What is good people? You are now listening to another episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and once again, we're joined by an extremely special guest. I seen this good brother, combing the Twitter streets here, and it's only right that I bring this brother on board the spaceship. So you know him, you love him, repping Windsor and the repping Windsor and the D. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for my man Canuck Duke. My bad.
It's
Woo,
all good,
tongue
man.
tied.
Yeah.
Damn, all stumbling out the gate, but you know what? We press on. Canuck Duke, what's good, man?
Hey, man, we persevere. We keep it pushing. I'm good, man. Honored to be here.
Man, glad to have you on. I said Canuck Duck. Good Lord. Man, anyway, so talk about what it was like for well, actually, before all that, we got to get to the more pressing news, man. Your Detroit Lions, man. Talk about it.
Bro, you know what? Thank you for affording me the time to do all that. I feel like I gotta get right with God. Like, I don't know what's going on with this football team. I feel like I gotta get some affairs in order because we don't know what's gonna happen next. But Dan Campbell's got them boys playing, running through walls for him. And the national media might be like, oh, it's Detroit. They don't know what they're doing. But I don't know. Ever since that not the Baltimore loss. Baltimore loss was expected, I think. But I think after Thanksgiving, when they really locked it down, started tightening things up heading into the playoffs, and I think they got that focus that's needed to actually go to the Super Bowl. For me to say that for the Lions, only had to say it in Madden before, bro.
So, man, so what was it like for you just watching it in real time yesterday?
You know what? I've been strangely calm with it. Like I've heard like all my friends get like nervous about like, man, the Lions gonna mess up. I'm like, they haven't had like this coaching staff. They haven't had the tenacity. Like I've watched Lions since Barry was like second or third year, going back like the 90s, early 90s. And this team just they play different.
Yeah.
Their mentality is different. So I'm not worried unless it's Lamar at this point.
Yeah, man. Dan Campbell got your boys looking right, man. He's really instilled that Lions culture, man. He's setting the table.
And for the first time in Lions history, I think it comes from the top. So you look
Yeah.
at Sheila Ford Hamp and you're like, what does this old lady know about like running a football team? But she's hired the right people. You got Brad Holmes, who's yelling in the elevator after playoff games. I don't know if you saw that clip, but he was like going
Yeah.
super saiyan in the elevator. And like him and Brad and Dan, they just two peas of the same pod, man.
And that's been pretty advantageous for y'all too, man. I wish that's a good problem to have. I wish I could relate that damn David Tepper, but
I feel bad for Carolina. They that oh man, Tepper.
yeah,
He just
that's
needs to take a page from Sheila's book and just get the right people.
yeah. And
Because
get out and
Carolina, like y'all support, like they're due.
yeah, and just we just need him to get out the way more
Yep.
than anything. Stop being a micromanager. But moving on, we're gonna talk about what it was like growing up in the Windsor/Detroit area. So, what was that like for a young Canuck Duke?
Honestly, it was like Detroit was just like going across the street or crossing over the river. Like we had a extended family, so like we go to Southfield, Oak Park, Grosse Pointe. Like we were all over southeastern Michigan. So it was
Okay,
like, oh yeah, you're just gonna kick it with see the extended fam, get some barbecue in. It was just like an extension of Windsor. But I think growing up and like going to like sports events, I
mm-hmm.
was like, oh yeah, they really treat you like you're a little different out here because you talk a little different, or like certain mannerisms are different. Like it's all love either way. Like I wouldn't have chosen to grow up anywhere else.
Yeah,
But like it's always like a not so much active code switching, but it's just you're across the border sometimes.
which is wild of being the Windsor is so close to Detroit, but yet it's still from hearing you talk about it, it feels like it's still some differences there.
Like yeah, there are, but it's interesting because like I've been working in out of a company that works in Detroit or that's based in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, it's just like all right, just going to Detroit, just going to work, it's whatever. And like I don't know, it's just for people in the Windsor area, going to Detroit second nature.
Got you, got
Yeah.
you. So, what were some of your earliest baseball memories?
Yeah, so I was born in 84, so the Tigers voice hovered around. But in terms of just baseball in general, I was playing T-ball at like age 4. So it seemed like that was the first sport I really gravitated to.
Hmm.
On weekends, it was This Week in Baseball on TV. I remember
Oh
seeing that.
man,
Yeah,
yes,
man, like that theme
yes,
song and the highlights and all that.
yes.
Locally, we got like in Windsor, we had both the Detroit stations and then we had CBC, right? So
Hmm.
I actually gravitated to the Detroit Tigers because of the local over there, like turn on channel 50, and there's George Kell and Al Kaline calling in a game with like Cecil Fielder, Lou Whitaker, and Alan Trammell and them boys back in the day at Old Tiger Stadium. So it's just it was always in the background for me. Like Saturdays were NBA inside stuff, This Week in
Hmm.
Baseball, and then whatever game happened to be on channel 50 for me.
Tight. So, do you remember the first Tigers game you ever watched?
On TV, no, I don't remember. I remember going to Tiger Stadium for the first time. That was through the Little League that I was registered to at age like 6. So we went there. It was like all the whole league. We went over there on over the Ambassador Bridge on buses, and it was straight. I remember getting like a souvenir AM radio that was like branded WJR, so like you could actually turn on the radio in the stadium and hear Ernie Harwell do the call of the game. So that was pretty straight. And then we had the mini bats. So me and my younger brother, we go back with the mini bats and start playing baseball. And then we're like, oh, we getting too big. We start breaking the bats, hitting softballs, trying to launch with these like little 1 foot bats.
So, when you were playing baseball, were there any players that you emulated?
Depending on what age I was, but I'd say when I was like 9, 10, it was either Griffey, because back in the mid 90s, if you weren't emulating Griffey, you weren't doing baseball right.
Of course.
And because I was a Husky boy growing up, Frank Thomas and Cecil Fielder.
Man, that's some good role models right there. So, what were some of your favorite Tiger moments?
Oh man, like I said, I was talking about before the show, going down memory lane, and I'm gonna try and do this in chronological order,
Okay.
but a lot of them involve like actually being there and like witnessing like crazy shit just happening
Yeah.
in the game. So this first one was Maglio's walk off that got them to the World Series against the A's.
Hmm.
Um, just sheer elation at that point because I was like, yeah, okay, the Tigers are doing well. I was like 20 something back then. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, the Tigers, they coming back, they doing well. And then like that just like we back just instantly.
Yeah.
So that Maglio walk off and he's just running around doing the celebration fist pump. I was like, yeah, we here. And then so after that, I was like, okay, I'm back, I'm going. And then I think it was like 2008. Me and my buddy Chad, who have gone to dozens of games with, shout out to Chad. Um, we were watching them play the Red Sox one day, and we are just taking in the scene. Like Comerica Park at night's pretty dope. I think it was like a Sunday night ESPN game or something like that. And then they announced this one relief pitcher making his debut, Freddie Dolce. I'm like, yo, Chad, who Freddie Dolce, man? First pitch to Manny Ramirez. If you ever seen Comerica Park, it has a vast center field.
Yeah.
Manny Ramirez hit a ball that probably almost landed in Windsor that night.
Wow.
Like he launched. I was like, oh, that's who Freddie Dulce is. Bet. So me and my friend Chad, we'll laugh about that whenever we talk about like the games we've seen over the years and all that. Next one the next ones have to do with Miggy. Um, a lot of my travels involving baseball have been like, all right, let's try to see Miggy hit a certain milestone. So I was fortunate enough to see him hit his 400th homer against the Cardinals in St.
Nice.
Louis. I think that was in 2015. And then that one for me is always special because I was like, oh man, this is peak Mickey. This is like after the Triple Crown, before all the injuries really took him out. And then recently I saw him hit 3,000 against the Rockies.
Oh wow. So you got to see him hit both of his milestones.
Yeah, I missed 500 by a day.
Oh man.
Yeah, we went up to Toronto. We're like, yeah, we gonna see Miggy. And then the Tigers did not bring their bats with them to Toronto because that was like the first game, first or second. It was the first series since Ontario opened up after the pandemic. So it was a lot of emotions going there. And then just to not see them do much with the bat was like,
Yeah.
damn, I'm driving home. I'm just gonna go right back to Toronto or right back to Windsor at this point, 3 hours later. Um, and then my next two involve Jim Leland.
Let's talk about it.
Like, Jim Leland, like looking at him, you'd be like, I'm not gonna vibe with this guy. This guy smokes Marlboros in front of the press, eating mac and cheese, just talking, food flying out of his mouth and all that.
That
But
mustache, man.
yeah, and then like if you're a Barry Bonds fan, you know him and Jim didn't really get along and all that. But when he was the Tigers manager, whenever he tried to argue about like balls and strikes or just like standing up for the players, the crowd would get behind him. And I was reminded of this one time they were playing the Jays. Someone did a sacrifice bunt, whether it's Andy Dirks or something. I'm trying to remember the video, but he wound up the first base umpire wound up calling a runner safe, and then the home plate umpire was like, "No, I had a better angle. He's out." So he changed it to out. Jim Leland comes out and he's like arguing the call, even though there's no instant replay at this point. So he's arguing on the principle. He's arguing because I got to do it for my team. And then all of a sudden, you hear this roar from the crowd because they're cheering him. And then he's like, oh, they got my back out here. So he starts getting at the umpires. And then they eject him. And then he's still getting them from the bench. And it's just like, yeah, that's the skip right there.
Yeah.
And then the next Jim Leland one was 2013 when they won the AL Central. And then they're on TV. So this clip is online as well. But they're interviewing him and he's getting emotional about like expectations. Don't fall victim to the expectation. He's out here like ugly crying at this point. And then Torrey Hunter comes up from behind, bear hugs him, drags him into the celebration in the locker room. And then instantly Jim Leland's like, oh man, I ain't crying no more. We happy, we partying. So he starts doing like this old white man moonwalk, start with the finger guns. And then he's like, all right. See, I got to finish the interview. And then, like, yeah, Jim Leland's, that's my guy. Even though he never got the ship, he's a legend. And then my last one for just the list I had here was Miggy's final weekend. Like, as Tiger fans, we're always like, oh, man, like, Miggy's going to be here until he's 39, 40 years old.
Yeah.
And then you look at the calendar, he's 39, 40 years old. Still producing like hit wise at the plate, but not the power's gone. And then to see him, because I went to his second last game. I wasn't going to try and go to the last game because the Lions are on, I think. But his second last game, they had his family come out. I think his mom did the first pitch, and she had a hell of an arm. And I was like, okay, that's where he gets it. That makes sense. And just to see everything unfold for him over the weekend and like him getting his final play at first base, I was like, yeah, I'm going to remember that forever.
Yeah. It's a great way to go out. So,
Yeah.
what were some of the other ballparks that you visited?
Oh man, I visited a total of 17, like
Wow.
from 2011 to now. Yeah, 17. So I was averaging like 2 or 3 a year at some point. But I visited the ballpark in Arlington. Shout out to your Rangers. I actually love that park because just the design of it, and they had the Robin Ventura, Nolan Ryan fight as part of their pregame hype.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, they serious out here. Tigers won that game that I went to like 13-7. And I was like, all right,
Actually,
Texas is straight.
yeah, actually, not to cut you off, but the second Rangers home game I went to was actually against the Tigers.
Oh,
It was
yeah?
in 2010, I believe.
Okay.
And I remember I think Rick Porcello was your starting pitcher.
Yeah.
And I remember Austin Jackson hit a leadoff home run, which is wild because Austin Jackson got his start down here in Charleston playing for the Charleston River Dogs.
Yep.
So I thought that was super cool, man. But continue.
Yeah. Let's see. I always have like a rotating top three, but Camden Yards in Baltimore was dope. Like that stadium, like you see the brick where they marked where Ken Griffey hit that home run.
Yeah.
I think we saw 2 games there, and then one of them I saw Justin Upton hit a grand slam. I was like, man, this dude gonna hit a grand slam. Yeah, he hit a grand slam. I was partying. Oh man. I went out to Pittsburgh. So I think PNC Park, I think it's
Yeah.
called still. That's a really nice stadium. It's situated right on the rivers in Pittsburgh. So you have that really picturesque view. What else? I've been to honestly, it's easier to like list the ones I haven't been to at this point. Low key at the bottom of the list is Rogers Center. Like I haven't been back since they're doing the renovations, but I just like this is a lot of concrete and
Yeah.
it's not as pleasing as the other ones. I've been to Fenway, I've been to Wrigley, been to Yankees Stadium, I've been to wherever the Mets play. Went to
City
Turner
Field.
Field, yeah, City Field. There you go. I did the Oracle Park in San Fran. Also did Oco Stadium out in Oakland. So yeah, this year I'm trying to hit up either Minnesota or Kansas City. Try to
Yeah.
knock off the AL Central.
Honestly, Kansas City is my favorite ballpark.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I have to hit you up for some advice on how to get to that one and how to get the sights and sounds and all that.
Yeah. It's because it's all to me, it almost has it's almost like an overgrown, it almost has like an overgrown AAA feel for me.
Mhm.
And I was just instantly drawn to that part. Yeah, this hasn't been I haven't been to nearly as many parks as you have. Is that one is KC, Texas, St. Louis, Atlanta.
Oh, St. Louis is a real dope one. I forgot
Yeah,
Bush Stadium. That's real good. They got a real good district over there.
100. Yeah, I agree. And then Tampa, Tropicana Field.
I'm dreading going to Tampa.
Brother. It's like watching a ball game in a warehouse, man. It's so sterile in there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not looking forward to that one. I got both Floridas left. I got Seattle. Like I got some good ones. I got some gems left, but I'm
Yeah.
like, ooh, some of these other ones, man.
So who are some of your favorite Tigers players?
Obviously, Miggy. I was a huge like I just like his approach at the plate. Like he will always go oppo when he was in his prime. He wasn't like a strict pull hitter. Like he hit for average and power. Like he's just someone who like really enjoyed the game of baseball when everything was going well for him,
Yeah.
despite the controversy around him earlier in his career. Also like JV. He was probably the most dominant pitcher I've seen as a Tiger. I also like Max Scherzer because that
Yeah.
dog was in him,
Mm-hmm.
and ironically, the Tigers bluffed him, and he proved them wrong. So I respect him forever for that. Old school, I'm gonna say Lou Whitaker and Alan Trammell, and then during this last peak, well, not last peak, that peak was like 10 years ago. But I was always a fan of Curtis Granderson and Torrey Hunter.
Ah,
Gotta
the
shout out the
Grandy
black baseball
man.
players. Yeah, man. Granderson, that left-handed hook swing, man. Like, I was like, this guy is generating a lot of power, but like at the same time, he was patrolling center field, and we are just like, how his range was just perfect for Comerica Park. Like,
Yeah,
very few have been able to replicate that. I'd say Riley Green's getting there, and Austin Jackson had his time, but there was no one like Granderson.
you're right. You're right. And Torrey Hunter, well, he was also one of my favorites too.
Mm-hmm.
I always remember him robbing Barry at that home run in the All-Star game.
I I remember him for almost getting killed trying to save that home run in Boston against the Red Sox. I was like, this man's gonna lay out for for the city, and I was like, it's forever respect on
Yeah.
that one.
And another one of my favorites because he also played for the Charleston River Dogs. And he's still my all-time favorite Charleston River Dog was Delman Young.
Oh, shit. Belman Young, owner of the best walkout song I heard is I was going to all sorts of Tiger games. He came up to King of Diamonds by Rick Ross.
Yeah.
Oh man. Somebody bring the Brinks truck.
Yep.
Oh
So
man.
who's some of your favorite non-Tigers players?
Currently I got a rotating four of Acuna,
Mhm.
Trout. I like the multi-tool player. Mookie Betts as well. But my favorite player, the $700 million man, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, he's unreal.
I
He is
saw that man
unreal.
do work in a summer day in Detroit, the doubleheader. One hit, complete game shutout, and a homer that went like 440 feet in 95 Detroit humidity. I
Yeah,
was like,
he
this
is a
guy is insane.
he's a unicorn, bro.
Hmm.
And I think the last person I had on here and we talked about Otani, bro. I always say his back cracks sound like gunshots, bro. It's ridiculous.
He hit like the way that man hits a ball. Like I saw hit the clip of him launching one out of a stadium in Tokyo, a dome stadium,
Yeah,
and I'm just like, this guy's out of a comic book.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That
he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT right now.
yeah. This boy, I tell you, the Dodgers, boy, they really struck gold with him.
They unloaded. And then like historically, Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, I paired them together because they're just built oppositely.
Yeah,
But they were so effective. Their control, like Randy Johnson with the slider and Pedro with just like the crazy splitter or whatever he had. And shout out to Pedro for olaying Don Zimmer
that,
against the
that man forever
all-time
that
great
man gets a
clip.
permanent pass from me for giving that Don Zimmer the good old hip toss.
Yes, sir. I mentioned Frank Thomas, Vlad Guerrero Sr.
Yes,
That man had crazy hand-eye coordination. Like he would literally hit one at his shoes. Like
I was
I've
about to
never seen anyone like that.
best bad pitch hitter I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
That ball will be halfway in the dirt, and he's gonna at least get an opposite field double out of it,
Hmm.
and then
And
pull
then
his hammy, and then pull his hammy run in the second.
absolutely. Shout out to the Expos. Should got one in 94. And then I got Bonds and Griffey.
Yeah,
I mean, needless to say anything else on that, but like Bonds, like everyone's like, oh yeah, he did steroids. I'm like, well, possible, but A, everyone else is doing it, and two, he just did it better than y'all.
yeah,
And Griffey, I'm like, oh, maybe he should have juiced, but if he remained clean, that's probably the most natural athlete to ever play the game.
yeah,
Like him just skying to get like balls at the wall, like is he's literally a childhood hero.
yeah. Me too. Me too. So now we're going to get into the 5 question segment. So the first and last question are the same question I ask every guest I have on here. Questions 2 through 4 are 100% random. So question number 1: what were Canuck Duke's go-to school lunch items?
Oh man, okay, going to high school because in grade school I had the same thing every day, so no peanut butter sandwiches, no apple juice, whatever. But it would be a 20-ounce bottle of Sprite, a slice of pepperoni pizza from Naples. If you know, you know, if you're in the Windsor area, and then a side of fries cooked well done.
Well done fries. I don't think I ever had well done fries.
It's crispy, man. That's all. They just let it sit in the oil. It's all good.
Okay. Question number 2: what 3 albums define your high school years?
Ooh, high school years. I'm gonna say Ghostface, Supreme Clientele.
My man.
Yeah, I would have said Iron Man, but that was grade school for me. um, 3 albums. Oh man, probably Mob Deep Murder Music.
Okay.
Yeah, because that hit at a time when everything was just like, oh, there's a video, and like Quiet Storm was basically Metal Gear Solid. I was like, yo, who's this little guy flipping around, running around? Shout out to P, R.I.P. And then third, maybe a Jay-Z album. No, I take that back. Outcast, Aquemini. I was bumping that.
Solid,
Yeah.
solid list. Question number 3: if you could be any animal, what animal would you be?
I think I'd be an elephant, man. They got the intelligence and they got utility. I mean, the nose, the trunk, whatever. And short of someone with a gun, no one's really messing with an elephant.
Good point. That's a that's a great point, actually. Question number 4: what's one Detroit specific food that you would recommend to visitors?
Now, as someone who resides outside of Detroit, I can't co-sign a Coney, but that would be the default answer for a lot of people from Detroit. But
Okay.
I would say the Detroit style pizza, which is square, about an inch thick, pan fried, I think. And yeah, it's basically better. I like it, even though I'm from Windsor and Windsor has its own pizza scene and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely say go for the pizza.
Okay. So what's the Windsor pizza scene like?
It's fierce out here, man. There's like a bunch of like Italian families who from like back in like the 50s splintered
Wow.
off from one, and a Windsor pizza technically isn't a Windsor pizza unless it's got a certain type of cheese from this one plant, this one manufacturer in the city. Depending on what you're getting on it, there the super is like shredded pepperoni, mushrooms, green peppers on this galati cheese or whatever. I think is a mozzarella, and then like the crust has to be a certain way as well. I'm more of a pepperoni and cheese guy myself, so as long as it's shredded and the crust is right,
Mm-hmm.
we golden.
So what's your crust preference?
I prefer like the garlic butter crust, to be honest. Like I
Oh
like that
yeah,
little bit of aftertaste with my crust. I can't
yes.
have like a plain bread crust like that.
I feel you on that 100%. Then last question. What was the last thing that really made you laugh?
Oh damn. It might have been the Cat Williams 2 hour special. That was something else.
Oh yeah, he left Earth on that special.
Yeah. Like yeah, I was like, he really going after anybody and he don't care. And then actually the funny part about that was Shannon's reaction, like him pouring up and like trying to get through the interview. I'm just like, I mean, you get Cat Williams on here, you going to eventually wander into this type of territory.
Yeah, straight up. So if there's anything you want to plug or promote, the floor is yours.
I'm just a humble dude on Twitter, man. I ain't got no podcast. My at is my at on all sorts of platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Xbox, PlayStation. I'm just out here, man. You want to talk baseball? Hit me up. I'll talk baseball. It's all good.
Word up, man.
Sports too. Sports in general. I like talking sports, but
Word. Greatly appreciate having you on, man. Seriously, this it's been a long time coming. And I'm glad I got to finally chop it up with you, bro.
you were the podcast rookie of the year, '03, bro. I was like, I'm honored, man. You say the word, I'll be out here. I don't care.
Man, greatly appreciated, man. And make sure you like, download, and subscribe to At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. Make sure you follow my YouTube channel. I'm at Danny Foxworth 843. You can find all the video versions of all the episodes for this podcast, as well as my other podcast since we last spoke with Danny Foxworth. And for Canuck Duke and myself, this has been another episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. And until next time, y'all be good. 3 strikes.